welcome, welcome. I am super glad that you are here. We're going to be talking today about Instagram and specifically Instagram for B2B businesses. So I hear this all the time. Well, listen, I'm not selling to I'm not selling to consumers. So like, what's the deal with B2B? And it's not just Instagram, it's across the board. I hear it a lot. If I'm selling to other businesses, is Facebook my place, And so today we're just going to be focused specifically on Instagram and how if you are a business and you're selling to other businesses, you can make it work for you and your business. So I'm excited about this because, like I say, I hear this all the time. If you are brand new and have never been on one of my shows before, I'd like to say, hey, so just drop in #new in the area down below, and we'll e-meet. I'll wave to you, okay? And as you guys are coming in, I know we have a lot of folks that come back each and every Monday, and I want to thank you guys for that. Like Edward, good morning, Edward. I'm so glad to see you. As you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you this morning or this evening, wherever in the world you are? So we have hello. We're going to do the wave. And we have new Valentina. I love that name. What a very I don't know, when I hear that name, I'm like, that just reminds me of love. I don't know. I guess it's the Valentine part in it. I don't know. So we have Northern California. Edward's from Northern California. Paul, good morning. I know Paul is here almost every Monday. So thank you, Paul, for being here. And then we have Maria. Hey, Maria. Good to see you, girl. And we've got Malia. I love that name. I hope I'm saying that correctly, from Quitman, Texas. Quitman, Texas. Where in the world is that? Like, I've never heard of that. That's kind of a unique name. Veronica from Mexico. Welcome, welcome. Couple of small things before we bring the guest on and we get going here. If you guys know somebody that owns a business and they're trying to sell to businesses and this would give them value, just tag them or sprinkle it out into the world. Okay. Just sprinkle it out. And if you hear something you love, use your emojis, y'all. Use them. We love them. Love to see them. So use those. And on every one of my shows, I do giveaways. And today is no different. And because we're talking about Instagram, and I just opened my store. I have a brand new store called kim.store. That's unique, right? I mean, you can't forget that one, kim.store. But one of the things that we designed for that was specific to Instagram is a mug that says DM me. Look at this. Isn't this super cute? So if you were live somewhere or you wanted to let people know to DM you, hey, you could just show your mug and it would be super awesome, right? So I think Jen needs one of these for sure. And we're going to be giving away 2 of those today. So let me tell you how you win. Anybody want to know how you win? We love giving away things. And good morning, Brenda. Good to see you. All right. So let me get back over here. The way you win is you drop in your aha moment, y'all. So if you hear something, if Jen says something, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Or, oh my gosh, I needed to know that. Or, oh my gosh, I knew it, but I needed to hear it again. Whatever the scenario is, drop in your aha moments, tell us what they are, and we put your name in this little spinny wheel. And at the end of today's show, we'll spin the wheel and one of you guys will win. So that's kind of a little bit of the contest. It's not a contest really, it's just a giveaway. We do these every week and that's how you win. Okay, so I also want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, Restream. I wore their shirt today. For a specific one, because it's super soft, and 2, because, hey, I love them. They're doing a great job serving the live streaming community. Like I say, I want to give them a special shout out. It's kind of my new go-to platform for live streaming to multiple social media channels at the same time. So if you're interested in multi-streaming, as they call it, check out Restream. Right now, we are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. They have a super easy to use interface for doing like those cool transitions, bringing up the comments like you saw me do a moment ago, and customized text on the screen. And not only that, but you can have guests anytime, and it's a seamless process. You just send them a link and they join you. You can also brand your live shows with cool show overlays, logos, and even pull in some custom graphics. This is the perfect platform for new and experienced creators alike. You can use the link we have in the comments area, I think right down here, to sign up for free and to get $10 off of your first month. So definitely check out Restream. You can go to, let's see, here we go, right here. Get $10 off, kimgirst.com/Restream. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about our special guest. Some of you know her, and some may not yet, but you're going to be incredibly blessed by knowing her, okay? So I know she's been on my show before, so if you were there then, I guess it was in the early days of the show, honestly, but still, she's a blessing. She's a fount of knowledge. You're going to learn so much from her today. She is a social media consultant, a speaker, and a globally recognized Instagram expert. Like, look at all these books she's wrote, y'all. She is the forefront blogger on Instagram marketing, and her blog, Jenn's Trends, has won the title of a top 10 social media blog over multiple years. She is a highly sought after and international speaker, providing tips, resources, and training for organizations of all sizes that need to structure their social media strategies. So, y'all put your hands together and welcome Jenn to the stage. I feel like, is this a stage? Yes, welcome her to the stage. Hey, Jenn.
Yay, it's a stage. It's a virtual stage.
Okay, hang on. Let me get us all both up here. Here we go. There we go. I sometimes hit all the buttons instead of just the right one. So, well, welcome.
Thank you. And oh my goodness, look at everybody tuning in. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yes. So, well, I was just seeing, I saw some comment fly by. There's Lisa is saying, you probably know Lisa Monks.
I love Lisa.
Yes. So what time is it? She's in Australia, for those that don't know. And I'm just thinking it must be like late at night, 10 o'clock?
It's gotta be, yeah.
Hours? It's usually like at least 12 hours, sometimes 13. So we've got Valentina is saying, love Jenn Herman.
Valentina is my girl. Hi, sweetie.
Yes. Okay, Jenn. So we talked a little bit, or I talked a little bit on the front side about this conundrum where a lot of business owners that are selling to other businesses find themselves in this like weird space sometimes. And I know we're here to talk about this, so obviously it can be done, but is it really possible to leverage Instagram for B2B businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, most of the clients I work with as a consultant are B2B businesses. I don't actually work with a lot of, specifically commerce-based businesses, whether it's e-commerce or physical stores. And it's absolutely possible. And it's actually an incredibly powerful way to drive website traffic, drive leads. It takes some work and it takes some creativity because it's not set up as a link dropping platform like, Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. So you have to work a little bit harder, but the quality of traffic you get from Instagram is actually exponentially higher than any of their platforms. So if you're doing it right, putting the right calls to action in there, it can actually be incredibly valuable for a B2B business.
So I hate when I hit the wrong button. Oh, golly, I got to start hitting the right ones. Okay. So this is live, obviously. So y'all just bear with me. Like when we have flubs, it just is part of what happens. Okay. So I know let's talk about how many active monthly users are on Instagram. And then the big question is, how many of them are businesses?
Good question. So there's over 1 billion monthly active users in general. So I think it's 1.2. That's the number I'm hypothesizing. They haven't given us an actual number in a very long time. So it's well over 1 billion, probably close to about 1.2 billion active users. Stories is well over 500 million, probably closer to like 7 or 800 million active users using stories. So that's an incredibly valuable component of the platform as well. And in terms of business, I don't actually know that stat offhand, but it is one of those things where whenever we see these studies come out, year over year, 60, 70% of businesses are going to commit more to Instagram that next year. And we're seeing that again, especially in this kind of, this COVID approaching post-COVID era where people had to really embrace social media. And we haven't seen an updated stat as of yet, but I'm very curious to see how many businesses jumped on social media and Instagram in this last year that maybe weren't doing it before. So I'm waiting for that data.
Yeah, I did some quick research on the front side, and I figured your numbers were more accurate than mine, but I found a stat that said 25 million active businesses. So that's still a heck of a lot of businesses that are leveraging it. And then going back to what you just said about COVID and all the stuff, like we know for a fact that video has like skyrocketed, through the roof when it comes to viewership and content's being consumed at a ridiculous rate. So it stands to reason that I think it would fall into alignment with what you just said, that more people would be actively trying to up their game because they have a little bit more time maybe to focus and figuring out strategy and things like that. So okay, so we've determined there's a whole bunch of activity happening on Instagram. We have also determined that there's a whole bunch of businesses over there. So if you are B2B, that's a good thing. But let's talk about, like, for an average business owner, are there buyers there? And is it broke down by demographics or when somebody says, hey, my person is not there, what do you say to them?
They are there. That absolutely, they are there. There are more people in the 30 to 55 demographic on Instagram than there are on Twitter. So, people come to me and they're like, oh, I hang out on Twitter. I'm like, well, then go hang out on Instagram. The reality is no matter who your audience is, they are on social media. Whether or not they're on your social media platform of choice, whether they're on their own platform of choice, there's obviously some research and things you need to learn, but that demographic, that 30 to 55 demographic, Instagram is typically their number one or number two platform of choice, which when you think about that 30 to 55 demographic, those are the buyers. Those are the people spending money. Those are those late millennials into the Gen X. They're the ones that have the careers. They're the parents. They're the ones with the buying decision. And they do spend online. We are so used to this environment. The millennials especially grew up with this, and the Gen Xers may be a little bit more hesitant, but they're still so used to it that they will buy from spontaneous ads in their feed. They will follow their favorite brands and companies and look for, whether it's a sale that came out, a promotion that's going on, a new product that's released, and they will purchase. And even from that B2B side, again, the majority of the people that are making those business decisions are probably that 35 to 55 demographic. And it's still a person on the other side of that transaction. And they're also going to be on Instagram. So absolutely your audience is there.
Yeah, I think that everybody, I would be stunned. Maybe, I heard this a question asked several times, and my friend Jeff C. uses this question a lot because it was one that he got asked, and it was like, well, hey, what if I am, I own a funeral home? Is my person on on Instagram? Okay, all right. So maybe there's certain.
No, I would argue they are.
I would
totally argue they are because if you think about it, most people, if you look at the age in which they are passing on, their kids are probably the ones planning the funeral, and their kids are probably in that late millennial, early Gen X. They're probably in about that 40 to 50 range planning the funeral, and they're hanging out on Instagram. Now, I've seen people, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, right? You have to learn what works for you. And Instagram doesn't have to be your platform of choice. I'm just saying it can be. There is a woman, I can't think of the name off of the top of my head, but she's a medical examiner out of, I believe, New York. And she has like millions of followers on Instagram as a medical examiner. And which is a gory, disgusting job that most people want nothing to know about, but she uses it as an educational platform. She's very kind of quirky in her behavior and her lifestyle, and that comes through in the way that she shares content, very authentic to herself. So absolutely, you could still do it if you were a funeral home.
Interesting. So see, you just have to, this is the key. I bring that up because, lots of times businesses think that they can't show up in a way that people are going to connect with them. Yeah. So let's dig into that a little bit. Like, yeah. What's the first thing when you're working with somebody that is a business that wants to sell to other businesses? What is the very first thing they need to worry about? Is that like setting their account up correctly? I mean, like, what's the very first thing they should worry about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things to really keep in mind. One is first, who is your audience, right? So we need to know who you're talking to and how we're going to communicate to them. You need to know your brand voice and style, because we don't want you showing up on Instagram acting like a, 22-year-old surfer kid if your brand is typically a very professional, very well-structured, poised organization. We still want to make sure that brand voice is consistent, knowing what your goal is, right? So why are you using Instagram? Is it brand awareness? Are you going to drive leads? Are you looking to, grow the email list? Are you looking to actually get people to come to your conferences or your webinars or events? So once you know what that kind of purpose is, then you can start crafting the content, and that becomes a whole other aspect. But yes, to your point, Kim, your profile is going to be super important for success. And this needs to be set up with all of those things in mind. So your name and your username, your profile description, which is only 150 characters, we really want to convey who you are, what you do, and what's in it for them, meaning them looking at your profile. They come to your profile and read that bio probably only the first time they ever come to your profile. Once they're following you, they'll probably, although they'll come to your profile, they won't read that bio again. So we want that written for that first time visitor, that, kind of 30-second elevator pitch kind of mentality that's going to connect with them, bring them into the fold, make them feel like they're a part of your family, your organization, your ideal customer, that sort of thing. And then that's how you start to build up the followers. That's how you start to get people following through to that link in the bio, all that sort of stuff, and wanting to connect with you more.
Quick question on the bio. I think you're 100% right in the context of, people only see that bio area primarily the first touch point, right? So it's important that, going back to what you said, that people understand what's in it for them, who you are, how you help them, that kind of stuff. But let's say somebody is searching for you. Yeah. Like what is something that's super powerful in your bio area so that they can be so that you as the business owner can be found by other business owners? Do you have any strategies, any tips, keyword searches, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and here's the good thing. Recently, Instagram did introduce keyword search. Now it's still in development. It's still not perfect, meaning you can go into the search icon on Instagram, start searching for a keyword, and it won't pop up any results because it doesn't populate yet, but another search will. So for years, 10, 11 years or whatever it's been that Instagram's been around, we've never had keyword search, right? You can only search by like account, location, or hashtag. So now that they've introduced keyword search, that's going to help a lot. But it is still, like I said, kind of in development. We still don't really know how it works that well. So the key criteria for search on Instagram for your profile are going to be the name and the username. Meaning if somebody is looking for Jenn Herman, I have to have Jenn Herman in one of those two fields. If they're looking for Jenn's Trends, I have to have Jenn's Trends in one of those two fields. So if I did not have my name, Jenn Herman, in one of those fields, and someone went to Instagram looking for that, I would not show up in search. So the username can be whatever you want it to be. We want it to be brand relevant. That's where if you're on Instagram and you're posting, liking, interacting, you're known as your username. So we want that to be brand related, something that people would recognize in the feed. Then your name field can be anything you want, and you can change the name field whenever. You can change it daily, weekly, quarterly, never, but that's where we want to get those keywords in there. So for example, I have Instagram expert in mine. I sometimes change that to Instagram speaker. When it's not COVID and we're in the speaker series, I will often add speaker, because if people are looking for speakers, I want to show up in those searches. And so you can change out those keywords in the name field. Don't mess with the username, because once you've set that up, that's now your URL. You are instagram.com/your username. So if you change your username, you lose all the backlinks to your previous account name. So we want to make sure that you have the username set. Change the name as often as you want. And if you're a photographer, you want to have photographer, or you want to have the geographical location that you serve in that name field. If you work specifically in a certain industry or with certain types of brands, put that in there. Don't give yourself some weird funky name. Like, we all want to come out and be like, I'm the chief steward of happiness. Well, guess what? No one's looking for a chief steward of happiness in search, right? They're looking for an HR director. So if that's what you do, put your actual, title that you call yourself in the bio, in that description, but put the keyword that people would be searching for in that name field.
Yes, so good. That's exactly what I wanted you to say. Because if you're a business coach, put business coach in there. If you are selling a specific widget, put the widget name in that name field, because that's the way people are searching. They're not searching to go back to what happiness coordinator or whatever, right? So think about it in the context of how somebody would find you, and hopefully in the near future, Instagram will up their game. Why they haven't fixed this before is anyway, let's not go there.
It's my Christmas list every year. I'm like, can we get good search?
Yeah, right. It is
right?
So, we can still use hashtags. And let's talk about that real quick. Should you use a hashtag or two? How many should you use in your bio? Let's ask that question, because sometimes I go and I see all these hashtags and I'm like, oh, please. Like, it just is it's a turn off for me. But
I would say our compatible eye roll is the answer to that question. Yes. So one hashtag that is brand related in your bio is okay. And that's even good, especially if you do a lot of user generated content. If you are a brand that has a lot of people creating content around your brand and on your hashtag, then putting that hashtag in your bio is okay, because people clicking on it are going to go to more about your business. So they're going to see things about you. That's okay. But you don't want to use something like, I wouldn't put hashtag social media, hashtag Instagram expert. I wouldn't put any of those hashtags in my bio, because first of all, they don't show up in hashtag searches. Hashtag searches pull up individual pieces of content, not profiles. So it does you no good to put them in there from a search perspective. But on top of it, if someone comes to your profile, you've worked this hard to get them there. They found you in search on another post, a tag somewhere, whatever it is. You work to get them there. Now they see a hashtag like photographer, like hashtag social media, hashtag San Diego, whatever it is. They click on it and they just got lost into the black hole of millions of pieces of content created by other people, and they will probably never come back to your profile. So don't use hashtags in your profile unless it is one, maybe two of your own branded hashtags. If you're running a campaign, a giveaway, something like that, obviously you can put that in there for the duration of that campaign. But those would be the only circumstances to put hashtags in the bio.
I love that, because, thinking about it in the context of how we use our if we go to Google and we click on, we search for something, we click on it, and before you know it, you're down the rabbit hole of and where did you start? Right?
Think
about it in
that back button. You're like, how far did I go?
Yes. And nobody's going to do that because somebody else has already grabbed your person's attention. So hey, can you hold that up? Let me see that. You only live once, might as well be a BA. I love it. Yes. All right. I'm always looking for a new mug and t-shirt.
Oh, I need that DM me mug. I'm getting me one of those.
Yes. I was like, you need one of those.
I do.
Okay. So let's talk about B2B content. We've already talked about, let's don't overdo the hashtags, or you're going to lose your person more than likely. And the next thing is, okay, what kind of content does a B2B company create in order to attract those people to them? What are some ideas or some strategies that you can give that work?
So my favorite strategy is going to be education. And people are on Instagram for usually light, fun, entertainment type content. So a lot of people are scared to put educational or like super deep, heavy stuff on Instagram, but people still want to learn. We don't need to write, a thesis level dissertation on Instagram, but we can share tips, tutorials, little DIY tips, behind the scenes things, information about how things are developing. One of my favorite examples is from General Electric. And it's an example I've used numerous times, that they have like one of the huge, massive windmills that you see if you're, especially in Southern California, you drive out to the desert, you see these like windmill farms, right? And they talk about, it's a really short, simple caption that just says, these, massive multi-million-dollar devices started from, toothpicks and styrofoam balls in our office space. Like, so they can kind of give you a little behind the scenes aspect of like what goes into the process of building a multi-million-dollar device. And that's something that you can do, right? You can share how your process works. You can share how things evolve, why you're at this stage, what was the motivation for this, whether it's the product or the service, those sorts of things. And if you can do anything to enlighten people, make them feel like they know a little bit more, give them those kind of, little trivia facts, those sorts of things are great. And if you do anything, showcase your employees, right? So you can have your employees either on video, whether it's in a reel, whether it's a IGTV, whether it's a simple video in your feed, stories, anything like that, talking about any of these sorts of things, adding that kind of personal content or context to the content by putting your employees on camera can be a great way, again, to connect, show the human side of your brand. You get that it's the B2B, but we're going to put the people in there sort of thing. And people start to connect with that and they go, oh, now I understand. And it's not necessarily the corporate speak or the long white page jargon. Instead, it's like, oh, you use styrofoam balls and toothpicks. That makes sense, and that becomes a relatable thing. So mixing in those stories, those personal components, and then anything, behind the scenes, people love to know what, businesses are doing, how they come up with stuff. So, showing your warehouses, taking people on a tour of your facilities or your spaces. There's so many different ways that you can create that unique content for your audience.
So good. Yes. So I want to remind everybody, if you're, just joining us, that we are doing a giveaway on today's show, which is this amazing mug specific to, yes, Instagram. DM me, because that's the currency. I think a lot of people are really wanting to connect via the DM, and the way you win is drop in your aha moments. Sorry.
I know, I was like,
over your face, right? Drop in your aha moments, y'all. Which is just an aha moment is like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that, didn't know it, or it's just something circle back and kind of like, whammy, I need that. Drop those in. We're putting everybody that drops in the aha moments in the wheel. We will be drawing. We're giving away 2 of those mugs at the end of the show. So don't forget to do that. Okay. So we talked about content. You gave a lot of really great content ideas. I want to circle back up for a second because I think this is a good conversation to have in the bio area. If you are a B2B, should you have a logo or should you have a face in that? Because I'm curious as to what you think about that in the context of how people connect.
Yeah.
And do they connect to the logo or do they connect to a face?
It depends on your organization, the size of your organization, the kind of mission of your organization. I mean, technically, I would fall into the B2B space, right? I serve businesses, even if that business is a solopreneur, entrepreneur, small mom and pop business, or an enterprise level business. I'm still technically kind of fall in that B2B space, but I am my brand. So I would not use my logo. I use my face because people know me as my brand. That's easy. People in the real estate space, use your photo. You're used to using your photo. People are used to recognizing that. And in some organizations, even if they are a large organization, maybe the CEO is the face of that brand, in which case using the face is perfectly fine. But for a lot of brands, you are a brand. You don't have a singular face, in which case it's completely okay to use your logo. My best advice on this, though, is to use a component of your logo that doesn't have a lot of text. So if you go on Instagram and you look through the feed, the profile photo gets to be about this big, right? Like it's super tiny. And so if you've got a bunch of text in your logo, or like, kind of like the tagline in there, that becomes a little tiny line. It's not legible text when it gets shrunk down that small. So if you have like, let's say it's a triangle shape for the letter A in your logo, use the triangle shape as your brand logo on Instagram and take off all the other text. Isolate just that kind of graphic component of it that is still branded, recognizable, but takes up the whole circle space and doesn't include a whole bunch of little text. If you are going to use a group of people, only 2 people, like 2 faces, again, smushed together in that tiny little circle, that's about as much as you can recognize. If you try to take that, wide angle lens of 10 people standing in front of your building, when you shrink that down into a little tiny photo on Instagram, it's not recognizable. So keep it to 1, maybe 2 faces. Otherwise, do the brand logo. Clean, simple, clear.
So good, so good. So let's dig into like all the options that we have today when it comes to Instagram. Like, is it
I'm
real?
exhausted.
Right? So is it stories? Is it IGTVs? Is it, all this stuff right now can be a little bit overwhelming. And again, going back to like, I love that you said that about the fact that you're a B2B business, you're marketing to businesses. Same here. I mean, I consider myself a B2B. Well, now with I have kim.store, I guess I'm B to C in that
Right.
scenario. But for most of my business and over the years has been a B2B. So I want you to think about that in the context of your business. You can be both technically if you have products and or if you're marketing to businesses. But again, I kind of got sidelined there. But when it comes to like all the stuff, like it can be overwhelming. One, and if you are just getting started or you're trying to like put some juice in your Instagram strategy, where do you see the highest value for somebody right now? Is it stories? Is it IGTV? And I think they all have value,
Yeah.
but like, what's something somebody could like run with today?
And again, this is going to come down to you, your business, your brand, and your team, right? If you are a team of 1, you only have so many hours in the day. So what works for you in terms of easy content creation? Are you, do you prefer taking photos? Do you prefer doing videos? Do you want to create longer form content that would be like an IGTV, a longer 2 to 3, 4, 5 minute video? Or do you want to create little 15-second clips of content and be like, boom, I'm done, I'm out? So that's going to play a factor. If you have a team of people, that gives you obviously more flexibility to create more content. Now, in general, across the board, feed and stories are kind of like your workhorse, right? Like they're never going to do you wrong if you're creating feed content or stories content. They have the longevity, they have the eyeballs. Right now, Reels, which is the TikTok response. So it's kind of like a stories, right? That short form vertical content. It's 15 or 30-second options. Those right now have priority on Instagram, meaning if you create Reels, you will get a benefit. You will not be punished for not using Reels, meaning if you've never done a Reel, you don't have to go out and do them. You're not going to, see horrible drops in reach or, never, reach your audience again if you don't do a Reel. But if you do a Reel, you are going to reach more people. They have a whole separate explore page for Reels. Just like when Facebook came out and said, Facebook groups are the place to be. And if you weren't putting in content in a group, you were kind of, SOL. Well, it's kind of the same thing with Reels in the sense of like, they're pushing it. They want you there. So if you can create that content, they're going to give you added reach, added exposure. That's going to help you draw in more of an audience within the platform. So Personally, I can't stand reels. I can't stand how much time it takes to create a reel. It takes me like 45 minutes to an hour, start to finish, to make a 15-second video. And mama just ain't got time for that in my life. So I don't use them. But that's okay. Some people love them. If you can do it, by all means, embrace reels.
So, crossing over a little bit from a repurposing perspective, can you use your stories as a reel?
That's actually my secret ninja tip. I tell people, because a lot of people are really comfortable on stories, right? We've been using it for a couple of years. You're probably pretty quick at knowing like where the features are, adding stickers, knowing what filters you want to use. Boom, boom, slap it together. There's your story. Absolutely. Download that story, save it to your mobile device, and you can now actually upload that to a reel. So you don't have to create a whole new piece of content for your reel, and you don't even have to publish the story. If you want to create the story, save it and not publish the story, then just move that over to your reels as you get more comfortable with the reels platform. That's a great way to maximize your time and still take advantage of that reels platform.
And I have to ask this question because TikTok, it's like you said, it's Instagram's response to TikTok. Yeah. All the socials are like trying to reel that traffic back into their individual platforms, right? So that just come to me. I don't know, but it's so perfect because in the context of, viewership and how many people are consuming content on TikTok, all the platforms, YouTube is coming up with YouTube Shorts and, obviously Instagram has Reels. I foresee that
Twitter has fleets.
Yes.
LinkedIn's got them.
Right. I mean, technically, I think Twitter fleets are more like stories, but the concept, the point is that they're all going to have it at the end of the day. They're all going to have these short form opportunities for content because that's how people are consuming content. So golden nuggets, I call it. But the question is, do you have to dance on your reels in order to get people to stop with the thumb and pay attention to what you have?
No. OMG, no. And please don't. If you can avoid the dancing and the music, lip syncing and all the things, don't do it. I mean, if it works for your brand and if it's relevant, then by all means, go for it. Do it. Have fun with it. But I want to say, I think it was National Geographic came out with some really great reels when reels first launched. And it was like, I watched one that was like an educational thing about frogs. Like, and there was no music, there was no dancing, but I was hooked. I was like, this is fascinating content. So it by all means does not have to be that level. Of course, most people use music, but that's fine. Put it as an overlay if you want to. It can be, a quick, simple, like stop motion type video that we're used to seeing from like the TikTok and Reels type where, you snap almost and it like changes like the screen or the outfit changes or something shows up on the table. There's a lot of ways you could make that kind of stuff work. And again, you don't even have a person in those videos if you don't want to. So do not overdo the dancing and lip syncing, please.
Sometimes. So that's just not me. Right. Now it's not that I don't love to move my body. That's not it yet. But
I just don't do it on camera.
Exactly. It's like, I just don't, I feel very just self-conscious in that environment, so that's not something that's authentic to me. Right. Now, if it's authentic, and the funny part is that I see a lot of creators doing it because they think they have to, and they just look stilted and fake. And so I wanted to it looks awkward. Yes. So I just wanted to take that away. So you don't feel if you want to embrace reels, go for it, but you don't have to worry about dancing, y'all. Yes. That's what I wanted you to know. Okay. So,
I love Marie just popped in. I get to be just me and not have to be crazy.
Yes, that's it. Exactly. Yes, Marie. And then I saw another comment. Oh, I love this too. So Lisa's saying, that's why I always resonated with you. I don't have time to create cool reels either. So interestingly enough, can you share some examples of things like you just shared the National Geographic, but what are you seeing that's really working on reels? And is it different than TikTok content?
I mean, I definitely think it's different than TikTok content in some ways, right? I mean, the platform is different. People are consuming things a little bit different on Instagram than they are on TikTok. For the most part, if something is doing well on TikTok, it would probably do well on Instagram, but it's not a guarantee. I think a lot of brands that are doing things well on Reels are, like you were saying, Kim, true to themselves, right? So they are just coming out with basically what they would do in stories or the feed, and they're translating that, whatever that looks like, into Reels and not trying to do something that's not on brand. Because most brands have been on Instagram for a while. You have an audience, you know what your audience reacts to. Like, you looked at your insights, you know this is the type of content that performs well. So if you try to reinvent the wheel and, start showing up and doing something completely off base, it's not going to perform. And I think that's the biggest thing for brands to embrace, is to just know what works for you and your audience. Don't be afraid to test and try new things, but know what works. And if you keep doing that, that's what translates well. But, like I said, kind of same kind of thing for that B2B space. Think about the education, those behind the scenes, meet the teams, any of those sorts of things translate just as well into Reels, especially when you can add some of those fun components with, the text that pops up. So beside each person could be their name, or you can do that kind of snap and it snaps to the next person, or, that same person in a new part of the office space. Like, there's so many creative ways you can do it while still being true to the type of content that your audience expects.
Yeah, and I think the key, honestly, is understanding, and this is something that's super big for all of us to get, is we have got to succinctly share content in, I call it snappable, or not snappable, snackable content. I've said this for years, but it's becoming more and more relevant today, where people are so overwhelmed with the quantity, not quality, the quantity of content that what we put out into the world. Like, if we've traditionally shared 3 ways to do Y, right? How do you do that very, very quick? If you're 3 tools, I've seen a lot of people sharing 3 tools. I'm a big fan of the 3, right? Because everything else is like overwhelming. I can maybe remember 3 things, but I can't remember it, right? But think about it in that context of how can you like quickly disseminate information that showcases your knowledge or your expertise, or, if you're, from the standpoint of B2B, if you're trying to attract that person to you, what's going to give them value? I think it's super important to shift our mindset when it comes to the content that we're creating. And,
I agree.
I
mean,
go ahead.
I think for like stories, right? Like, stories have been adapted into all of these different platforms. And now you've got the TikTok, right? It started kind of with Snapchat, and then of course Instagram knocked that off with stories, and everyone's doing that. And now you got the TikTok. All of these are short form content, right? All of this is under a minute of content. Even Instagram videos, for the feed, can't be more than a minute in length. We have, whether we are, as society, are conditioning for short-term attention spans, or if we just have gotten short-term attention spans and we're now feeding that with short-term content or short-form content, you have to keep that in mind. I mean, and if anybody's ever met me, brevity is not my strong suit. Okay, if you can say it in 10 words, I can say it in 100. So short-form content is not my friend. But you have to learn to create that, whether it's stories, TikTok, Reels, whatever it is. You need to be prepared to create, like you were saying, Kim, that bite-sized snackable content, things that people can consume really quick and move on to the next. If they want to go further to learn more and read the blog post or watch the longer YouTube video or whatever it is, great. But you have to hook them with about that 15 to 30-second content.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Now, question, because I know this is just something that's fairly new, where Instagram is like, hey, y'all, all you people over there that are on TikTok and you're bringing your TikTok content over here to Instagram. No, we do not want that anymore. So, quick share if you have some strategies on, because if people are trying to leverage their content, like you said before, and I think this is important, if content is performing well on TikTok, it'll probably perform well on Instagram. And I think it also is going to perform well on even like Pinterest. People are telling me that their TikTok content is performing well on Pinterest.
Yeah.
But there's this disconnect. And when I see TikTok content on, Instagram or on Pinterest, I'm like, yeah, no. So do you but if I'm a big repurposing person, like
Yeah.
I want to create the content one time and then I want to leverage it in multiple places. Do you have strategies for that?
So yeah, ideally, if you can, create your content elsewhere. So whether you create it in Reels and then download and save the file and then upload that to TikTok, whether you create it in a video editing software and then upload it to TikTok and to Reels and anywhere else that you can, because like you're saying, if you create, and it's hard because I know like you've created the content on TikTok, that's maybe where you're used to it. That's where things work in terms of, the features and the editability that you want, but it puts the TikTok logo on it. And Instagram has specifically said that they will now diminish the reach. They will punish content that has the TikTok logo. So try to build the content elsewhere and then upload it from that raw file to the various platforms. Now, that being said, that's not always, like you said, from editability and things, not the best, solution for everybody. There are a bunch of tools out there. I haven't tried any of them. I don't know which ones are the best. There are tools out there that will strip the TikTok logo off your TikTok video. Once you've filmed it, uploaded it, you can now save it and remove the logo. I will give a caveat that we don't know how effective that is. Meaning there's still metadata tagged on that video, and is that being stripped or edited where, even though the logo is gone, if you're uploading it to Instagram, is there still metadata or tagging associated with the original creation of that video that the AI on the backside of Instagram can still recognize and be like, nice try, smarty pants, not going to happen. So be cautious if you do that. Of course, all they're going to do is diminish the reach primarily for new audiences, right? You're not going to show up and explore if you have a TikTok logo on your Reels. But your audience could still see it. It's still going to show up for your audience in some capacity. So if it's a great video, by all means, go ahead and repurpose it. Just be wary of the fact that Instagram don't want that.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. They're trying to protect their, and
the brand integrity.
The brand integrity. And, I had a guest on a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about this exact same thing. And one of the suggestions that they had is you create the content inside of TikTok, then you download it to your phone. So, that's been one of the biggest concerns is, a lot of these apps have a lot of built-in function, creation application, where they help you create cool content where you couldn't do that on your own videos.
Yeah.
Like I can't do that. Like that's just, it's like the whole, if I want a good laugh, I go to Snapchat and look at the filters, right. I just love those, but I can't create that effect myself, so the tools have some built-in functionality. So again, the point being is create it, save it, before you share it, on TikTok, and then you'll be able to use that on Instagram and Pinterest and some other places too. So, all right. Well, we're going to pick the winners, but I have maybe a couple of last questions because I know you're on a timeline today.
Yes.
What is this thing called guides, and how can B2B businesses use them? Because I bet you that there's people that are listening or watching that haven't heard about this. They're like, what's that?
So guides no one's talking about them, and I think they're the greatest things in sliced bread when it comes to Instagram, to be honest. I think they're amazing. They're basically highlights for the feed. So we have our Instagram stories and we can archive any of those stories to highlights on our profile, right? Well, guides are basically the same thing, but for feed posts. So it allows you to take any of your content and any saved content from other people. So if you've saved it So I could save Kim's, post about this. Like if you posted this on Instagram about me being on the show, I could save this and I could actually add that to my guide for, interviews with Jenn Herman or something. So you can pull in up to 30 different posts on a specific guide. There's a couple different formats, but for posts in general, you can do up to 30 pieces of content, but it puts everything in a topic, right? So if you've got multiple, SKUs or products, you could have a guide for each one. If you have multiple services, or if you want to have one for like a meet the team, and you want to have one for, behind the scenes, and you want to have one for, here's, quick DIY tips or something like that, you can actually create a guide for each of those different topics. And you're going to want to advertise this, let people know that these are there. And it's the newspaper looking icon. So if you go to my profile, JENNS_trends, you'll see the newspaper icon, and that's where the guides are. So you'd want to tell your audience, we've created this guide, go check out the newspaper icon so you can go look at them. You're going to have to give people incentive to go there at first, but it basically, it makes it so if you come to somebody's profile, you can go directly to that type of content, and you don't have to go through all of their feed content trying to figure out what's relevant to what you're looking for. It's all in one topical guide, which is, I just think, amazing, especially for B2B.
I think this is so amazing. And one of the things that I didn't know about guides, which I just learned from you, is that you can include other people's content.
Yes.
So that is so amazing. So
and
y'all,
it can be anything from the feed, which means if you've previewed an IGTV to the feed, if you've previewed a Reels to the feed, anything that's been in the feed can go into that guide. So it's not just like photos, right? It's any of that kind of content.
very awesome. So I'm just curious because I learned something. I always do, but I bet you many of you guys didn't know that there was even such a thing as feeds, Instagram feeds. If that, or guides, I'm sorry, Instagram guides, not feeds. Golly. Anyway, all these terms, I'm telling you.
I know, they have to keep adding all these things and we have to learn it all. I'm like, what is happening?
So if you didn't know about Instagram guides, let us know, because I think there's a whole conversation that we could even potentially have around that. But I want to give a huge congrats to our winners. Our winners is Lisa and I don't want to butcher it. How did okay, you won.
I'm horrible with names.
I'm so horrible with names, and I always am like so hesitant to say it in case I say it bad. But if you are one of the winners, make sure you go over to kimgross.com/winner, drop in all of your information. We'll make sure we get those mugs out to you. Your DM mug, now you're going to have one. I'm super excited about that for you guys. And a couple of small things. Don't forget our sponsor. If you are interested in doing what we just did, or leveraging the power of multiple places, one-time slot to go live and share your content, repurpose it for Instagram Reels and stories and all those things, then go to kimgross.com/Restream. Check that out. And I want you guys to be able to connect with Jenn moving forward. So Jenn, tell everybody where they can connect with you if they want to connect and further the conversation with you.
So I'm everywhere as Jenn's Trends. It's jenstrends.com, Jenn with 2 N's. That'll give you the links to everything. I'm pretty much everywhere on social as JENNS_trends. That's where I am on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Clubhouse. I'm pretty much everywhere as Jenns_trends. And I do have my Instagram for B2B course. That's the link up here on the screen right now. If you go to Instagram for business.jenstrends.com, that is a 8-module, 6 hours of content, all specifically on how B2B businesses only. There's no B2C, there's no fluff. It's all about B2B to use Instagram. We go through all of the things from setting up your profile, how to drive traffic, how to use calls to action, content examples for stories and the feed. We talk specifically about lead generation, and I have a whole module in there just on analytics and insights and how to take all of that information and dissect it so you know exactly what is working. So if you really want to be successful as a B2B, please go check that out. Feel free to hit me up if you have any questions about any of these things, and come find me all around social.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And guys, definitely go check out and connect. If you got something super value based from Jenn today, send her a DM. If I had my
Yes,
DM mug, I would
yummy.
hold it up. DM her over on Instagram, but definitely follow her. She's not only is she wicked smart when it comes to Pinterest, I'm sorry, Instagram. Golly, I got but she is she is a mom and she has a full-time job and she still rocks her business Jen's Trends and keeps so many people up to date on what's happening on Instagram. So you guys are going to be super blessed. Put your hands together. Thank you so much for Jenn for being here. I'm really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your golden nuggets with us. And for all of you guys, thank you guys for being with us. Take care of yourselves.